You are listening to the Beltway Wars Invitational Podcast, hosted by Adam Jackson and Patrick Wilton. Enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome to the Week 9 fantasy recap of the Beltway Wars Invitational Football Podcast. I'm Patrick. This is Adam. Week 9. Every time you do that, you did that last week, and
I've done it since like week 3.
Pay attention.
No, you never pay attention to me. This is why our friendship is failing.
Well, it's failing. Okay, that's news to me.
Yeah, I'm filing for divorce
Breaking
from
news.
You.
Boy. Well, good luck finding another podcast host that's as good as I am.
That's true. But I have had requests from some people that if you do miss a week, that they would like to do a guest spot. So, maybe a little more people than you think.
Well, here you go. I will be missing a week. I guess it'll be at the beginning of the playoffs or close to. I'll be in Austria the week of the 8th.
Nice.
The week of the 8th, I will be away in Austria. So Daniel and I are going over there, flying into Munich.
The home
checking out Austria.
The home of your favorite historical figure.
The Von Trapp family?
Oh, I was going to say Hitler.
No, I love the sound of music.
Yes, you do love the sound of music. I was just kidding. He doesn't like Hitler.
No, and the Von Trapps hated Hitler. That's the whole point of the movie. It was, anyway. December 8th, the week of the 8th. It's probably, so that's like a month from now. That's going to be right at the end of the season. That might be so. Anyway, so plan accordingly. Great. Well, let's not waste too much time. Let's get into it. We got a packed show tonight because there was a lot of trades and waiver wire stuff to cover, as well as some matchups, of course. So beginning with looking at last week's waiver wire acquisitions, we're getting to the point, Adam, where people are spending and not a whole, like it's very diversified. Even though people are thinking they have to put a lot of money into these players, there are rarely any more kind of multiple bidders on some of these players. So, for instance, Josh got Tua Tagovailoa last week for $15 as the only bidder. You got the Houston Texans defense for $9 as the only bidder. Brian Morgan picked up Hank Bigsby for $9. And then we did get 2 bids on Christian Watson. Jake ended up with Watson there, his picker, of course. Josh with Tyler Loop for $5. I picked up Sam Darnold for $4. I picked up Jacksonville for $3. And I picked up Bashal Tutin. I think you had the other bid. I got him for a single buck. So again, I swiped him out from under you. Are any of these worth commenting on that you want to just note?
I would say like the Tank Bigsby might be kind of important this week, especially with Saquon Barkley playing on Monday nights. They're unsure of his status. He could really, I mean, I don't know if you're going to get anything early, but I'm not looking at Brian's team, but if you could plug him in if Saquon is out, that's a running back number 1 right on the waiver wire, at least for 1 week.
Yeah, you're really hoping, though, that A.J. Brown would be Saquon Barkley. Well, they're both hurt, but Saquon Barkley, he would need to be ruled out, earlier in the day well, I guess he'd really need to be ruled out a day before his game on Sunday in order to get Bigsby into the lineup in a way that you feel comfortable about. So that's a tough one.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, if nothing else, let's move into the 3 trades. As we know, this week 10 is the trade deadline. Everyone should have gotten notifications in Sleeper for that. But we did have 3 trades last week. Within the last week, we had Charlie and I getting this thing going by swapping a couple players. Zay Flowers comes to my team. I add to my wide receiver core, which was struggling in recent weeks. I did feel comfortable enough with Oronde Gadsden at tight end that I was willing to part with Travis Kelce, and also threw Darius Slayton into that deal as well. So I think probably, Adam, thoughts on this trade? Flowers for Kelce and Slayton?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of texted it about a little bit. I think Slayton's just kind of the throw-in for
Yep.
you there. I don't think that he was really going to be used too much. Kind of an upside kind of play. Maybe he can become, wide receiver 3 on a team. I don't know. Kelce, kind of interesting. Kind of trading him on name value. Now, he has had a pretty good season, but you are big on Glouston, I think is his name. Golston? Gadsden?
Oronde Gadsden. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, you're all in on him, and you're like, well, I gotta make some risky plays here with the position you're in. Zay Flowers, of course, with Lamar coming back, is probably wide receiver 2 on any team. You desperately need wide receiver help, so that definitely helps you out there. Pretty fair trade, I would say, across the board.
Yeah. In fairness, Slayton, it was interesting. I'll reveal the thing. I didn't tell Charlie this either, but Slayton, Charlie, he and I were texting, and he sort of we kind of agreed to the Kelce Flowers swap, and he said, "Well, I kind of want to sleep on it," and I'm like, I don't like sleeping on stuff like that. Once I know what I want to get it done. So I said, well, if it helps, I'll chip in another guy that might be able to help your team fill the hole that Flowers left. Maybe Slayton becomes something. So Slayton became the reason that maybe I could get it done without sleeping on it.
That's
Sleeping
fair.
on things, I don't know.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Anyway, okay, moving on to your deal here with Scott, which came a day later. It was swapping Brian Thomas Jr. You acquired Brian Thomas Jr. In exchange for Tyrone Tracy, and obviously we've had developments in the last week. I'm sure we'll get into it more during the show for both of these players, Adam. But what were you thinking when you made this deal, and any instant reactions on it, given this changing circumstances for both of these players?
Well, I don't even know the changing circumstances about Tracy's because I don't have him anymore. So maybe you'll fill me in on that when we get there. But just looking at this, I was like, well, Tracy, this is as high as his value is going to be, I believed. I didn't want him to have 3 stinkers of a game and then not knowing what his value is going to be. So I was thinking about trying to go for DK first instead of Brian Thomas for Scott's team, but Scott said he wouldn't do that. So I went with kind of the buy low kind of play, which was Brian Thompson. He's better than any of my wide receiver 3s that I've been plugging in, probably better than my wide receiver 2s. So even with him scoring 7 to 8 points a game, he's just very more consistent. With that, I think it was a fair trade. Scott did need some running back help. Now it sounds like there's something going on there, but I wasn't going to use Tracy. I have ETN, Genty, and Achane, so he wasn't going to see my starting lineup. And kind of the same side as Scott as well. Brian Thomas was not going to see his lineup either, just with his roster construction. So that's why we decided to do that. He wanted to sleep on it, and I kept on texting him. I'll pull the curtain as well. He said he was waiting on a trade because Charlie tried to trade Lamar Jackson to Scott for Jamar Chase.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So Scott was going to do that, but I think he did a counteroffer, and obviously Charlie did not take that, so he went ahead with this trade.
So Charlie was going to trade Lamar to Scott, or that was
yes.
That was what? Okay, interesting. All right. Well, that leads us into our final trade, which was Charlie trading away a quarterback not named Lamar Jackson. It was Matthew Stafford going to Tom's team here, the Finksburg Kinks, along with Alec Pierce, wide receiver for the Colts. In exchange, Charlie receives Chase Brown, running back. Adam, I don't want to talk too much about this. I use this trade as part of the question when we get into Charlie's matchup. So let us talk about that later on.
Okay.
How about standings, Adam? I've been doing too much talking here.
Sure.
You want to give us a quick rundown of the standings after 9 weeks?
So the Berlin Banshees at 7-2 in first place, also leading the league in points scored. Then we got the Pasadena Pulverizers at 6-3 in the number 2 spot. Reisterstown Rockets in the number 3 spot at 6-3. Timonium Neon Tubes at 5-4 in the 4th spot. The Union Bridge Badgers in the 5th spot at 5-4. Curtis Bay Chum Buckets in the 6th spot, 5-4. Columbia Clown College in the 7th spot, 4-5. Westminster Rook and Crew 4-5 in the 8th spot. Pratt Street Po Boys in the 9th spot, 4-5. Owings Mills Ozempic in the 10th spot, 3-6. Penn Prairie Wolves 3-6 in the 11th, and rounding out the league, Finksburg Kinks at 2-7 in the basement.
Interesting to note, Adam, the biggest movers this week in terms of standings position, it was you getting the win and moving up 2 spots from 7 to 5. Nice feeling there. And it was Alex, unfortunately, dropping 2 spots from 8 to 10 with his loss. So you guys were the biggest movers this week. All right, with that, let's get right into the games. And Adam, for once this year, we're not talking about my team last. We're talking about my team first. Excited to get a big victory here over the Columbia Clown College, 172.9 to 120.10. I believe it was the second highest scoring week of the season, next to, I think, Sarah earlier in the year. Really nice day here. I moved to 4-5, as you say, the number 9 team in the standings. It was a big day for Caleb Williams, finally, against a defense in Cincinnati that we knew was very, very bad. 37 fantasy points for Caleb Williams. And the running backs got the job done here as well. Jalen Warren with 15. Kyle Monangai, the rookie, getting the start in place of the injured DeAndre Swift. He gets 21 fantasy points, 176 yards and 26 carries. Definitely breakout performance there for Monangai. Also got production from their wide receivers. St. Brown, Amon-Ra, 14 fantasy points on 13 targets, just shy of 100 yards. It was T. Higgins connecting with Joe Flacco, especially late in the game. 2 touchdowns in this one, 29 fantasy points, over 120 yards. A great day there. And when things are clicking, they're just clicking. Amy Fairbairn, 18 fantasy points in this one. So really good contributions, really at every position for my starters here. And then on the bench, did get 13 points from Parker Washington from Jacksonville, and Bashal Tootin finds the end zone for the Jags, 9 carries. Probably his best performance maybe of the season here. He gets his 2nd touchdown of the year and the most carries he's gotten on the year. So,
yeah.
Adam, I actually had a pretty nice week here and a few options, which is a nice change of pace for you to pick a beast from.
Yeah, so I'm going to pick T. Higgins, 29 points. You know, just a really different offense with Joe Flacco there in Cincinnati. We saw how bad their defense is. They're going to be throwing the ball. They're going to need to score 40 points more often than not to really compete. I mean, their defense is just terrible. I saw Geno Stone, former Raven, missing and playing so bad on the back end, missing tackles, all that stuff. I mean, since Joe Flacco has taken the helm, T. Higgins has scored 4 touchdowns, and this one he has 9 targets, 7 catches. His best yardage game of the season. Now wide receiver number 11, very quietly, I would say. 3 straight games of double-digit points. He is my beast for Week 9.
Certainly, that was a fun one to watch, a fun NFL game to watch, and really fun to see the connection that Flacco and Higgins established in this game. You won't have this team putting up 42 points very often, but certainly Higgins, who left this game early, I hope he's okay. I think he's okay.
Yeah, he doesn't have any tags on him, but he's going into a bye as well. So
that is very true. Okay, how about a bust here? I mean, generally pretty good performers across the board, but who may be underperforming for you this week?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first week with Zay Flowers was kind of disappointing for you a little bit. I mean, even though you got the win, only 5 targets in this one in a game that they scored 28 points. Lamar Jackson throws 4 touchdowns. It's kind of the resurgence of Mark Andrews this week, catching 2 of those. Really went tight end heavy, it seemed like, in this one. I don't know if that was just a game plan or not, but only 5 targets in this one, 5 receptions, 64 yards. Only has 1 touchdown this season as well, which is kind of surprising to me. It's just one of those things where if they don't need them, they're not going to need them, and the Ravens are going to be hopefully ahead. I think next week is actually a very interesting matchup between the Ravens and the Vikings. Vikings look good against the Lions with J.J. McCarthy coming back, so maybe he'll have more involvement. But for this week, he is my bust.
Agree, yes. Better days ahead, probably, hopefully, for Flowers, especially as the sort of the defensive schedule ahead gets a little bit easier for the Ravens offense. All right, well, Adam, with Tony Pollard struggling in this Tennessee timeshare, upshot rookies Kyle Monangai and Trevion Henderson each finally got a chance to be the running back one for their respective teams due to injuries ahead of them on the depth chart. Evaluate the stat line for me for each of these players, and what do you think it means for each of these guys moving forward?
Wow, so you just want pats on the back for this one. But, I mean, the Kyle Monangai waiver pickup, which I think you did, yeah, I mean, $6. I mean, that's great to have that. Does this become more of a timeshare now with him and DeAndre Swift? Could be. But, you know, it kind of reminds me of, like, the Rico Dowdle kind of Chua Hubbard thing. It's kind of like Swift is kind of who he is. And, you know, he's good, but it seems like Kyle Monangai is that guy. Now, against Cincinnati, it's Cincinnati. I feel like everyone looks kind of good against them. It'll be interesting to see how the next couple of weeks go, what their timeshare will be.
Kind of hoping, Adam, just to that point, because I think it's an interesting point, the comparison you made, because what I'm hoping for is that maybe the Bears turn into like a Lions light, where it's like a Gibbs and Montgomery.
They did have their former they did have their former offensive coordinator as their head coach now, so
that is very true. And the fact that, you know, Monangai is a very aggressive runner. He is he's a lot quicker. He's a small back. He's very much more in the Jahmyr Gibbs role, and DeAndre Swift is a little bit more of a downhill kind of plodding, bigger guy kind of runner. So it's interesting to me that they do profile a little bit like those Lions running backs.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but then going over to Trevion Henderson, it's so weird. Like, yes, he plays 75% of the snaps. He gets 14 carries in this one. But then you have Terrell Jennings out of nowhere getting 11 carries in this one. Ramondre Stevenson didn't play in this one. I think that this is more of a true running back by committee. I mean, just looking at their depth chart, I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They have 9 running backs on their depth chart. So I feel like everyone's going to get a little piece of the pie. It's going to be hard. It's just hard to trust who's going to get the work. And at 14 carries, that makes him kind of a low-end flex, maybe kind of touchdown dependent, unless he's catching some passes in this one. He did catch 4 in this one. So you'd like to see that, his second time that he's been in double digits, but I'm a lot higher on Monangai than I am Henderson at this point in time.
Yeah, for sure. The silver lining there on Henderson, Stevenson did, I think, miss practice again today, so it is looking like he is trending to miss a second straight game. And also the fact that he got 6 targets. You said he caught the 4 balls. He did catch 6 targets. So 6 targets plus 14 carries, 20 touches. I certainly am happy with that. 75% snap share is 25% more than his next highest week this season. So hopefully, for my sake, he will continue to be involved. All right, let's move over to the losing side.
Well, let's give you a sound effect here because you did win. So we'll give you a sound effect. Done. Go ahead. You'll have to listen.
All right. Do you want to can we do sound effects at the beginning? That
sure.
way I'll remember.
Sure. So
let's move over to the losing side here, Adam. Columbia, I'm going to cue you up. Columbia Clown College gets lost, dropping to 4-5, number 7 in the standings. 120.10 points. What do we got here as a sound effect?
has he lost 5 straight? How many straight has he lost?
It's not 5 straight. It's 5 out of 6.
5 out of 6. So he has lost 5 out of 6. So this is where his sound effect comes into play.
What the hell? Oh my God! No way!
All right, go ahead.
All right. Well, 120 points is nothing. That's not a terrible week, but it was a terrible week for Jahmyr Gibbs and Javonte Williams, 2 guys that Mike has been leaning on. Gibbs goes for just 4 fantasy points on 9 carries, and Javonte Williams in a loss to the Vikings. No, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong player. Javonte Williams in a loss to the Cardinals. 15 carries for 83 yards, lost a fumble, 6.8 fantasy points. So 2 stars at the running back position, struggling. And then combine that with Darnell Mooney's 2 points and Matt Collins is 1.9. Just too much. It rains on the parade of Brock Bowers, who returns from injury for 37.3 fantasy points. One of the highest scoring tight end weeks in recent memory, really in the fantasy football era for Bowers. It was a huge, huge day for him in his return. Still some injury concerns going on for this team. Travis Hunter, who was placed on IR. Garrett Wilson was on bye, but dealing with an injury. Same with Chris Godwin, on bye, dealing with an injury. And Ricky Pearsall missed this game. So, Adam, 120 points. Obviously, some good performers here.
Yeah.
James Cook still 27 carries. A nice day for him. But who do you want to talk about? I'm guessing it might be Brock Bowers.
It is Brock Bowers. I mean, a historic tight end day for Brock Bowers. And, it's kind of interesting. The Raiders suck. We all know it. Geno Smith sucks. They don't know what they want to do. They don't know if they want to run the ball, pass the ball. But, him coming out, 13 targets, 12 catches, 127 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I really think that was the reason why Jacoby Myers got moved. They were like, he's back. He's going to be a focal point of this offense as well. He's obviously able to carry the load. He's showing why he was the number 1 tight end drafted at the beginning of the season. Now, Mike would have liked this a lot sooner, but it seems like they finally got him going. He is my beast, and I'm expecting, double digits from here on out for Brock Bowers with a lot of the targets now opening up.
All systems go for the young tight end. His 81% snap share, Adam, suggests to me that had they not been on bye in week 8, he probably would have been playing last week. So nice to be able to get that extra week of rest, come back and give a 37-point fantasy performance.
Yeah.
Okay, we will move on to the next matchup.
You will not.
No surprise.
The next matchup? We haven't done a bust. We haven't done a question.
Oh. I was so excited.
We are not professionals here, ladies and gentlemen, and Pat is tired. So my bust for this week is going to be Jahmyr Gibbs. Just a kind of weird game, and looking at his last 3 weeks now, against Kansas City he has 7. Then against Tampa Bay, he has 35, explodes. And now he has 4. It seems like he's going to be, he could become one of these boomer bust people. And it's, the Lions' offense just kind of seems kind of weird as well. Not sure what they want to be. New offensive coordinator as well. Minnesota, sneaky good defense, or at least run defense. That might have been the case. And it was a very competitive game. It was very close, so I don't know why they really only gave him 9 carries with how good he is. But not concerned you're starting him, but you want to see more than 9 carries with where you drafted him in the first round, 5th overall pick. Still splitting time with David Montgomery, and this is kind of one of the things that we always talk about Gibbs is like, if David Montgomery could go somewhere else, Jahmyr Gibbs could be the number 1 overall fantasy football player. But right now he's running back 8, and he is my bust for week 9.
Yeah, snap shares in line with what has been the case pretty much all season. They have remarkably similar snap percentages throughout the entire year, both of those running backs there for the Lions. Okay, well, I mentioned the injuries, Adam. The injuries continue to pile up for Mike as two-way player Travis Hunter was placed on IR at the end of last week with a knee injury, becoming the fourth injured wide receiver for the Clown College. This caused Mike to start Darnell Mooney and Mac Hollins, who combined for 3 catches, 4 targets, 24 yards, 3.9 fantasy points.
Yeah.
Mike started the year with 3 wins in a row, but he's dropped 4 out of the last 5. So given the injury situation right now for Mike, is it time to panic?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, this wide receiver room's kind of looking kind of not as great as it did the first couple of weeks. I mean, Garrett Wilson should be back. He was limited today, so that really helps. Ricky Pearsall was still sidelined at practice, so he hasn't practiced yet. Travis Hunter, you mentioned, out for the next 3 weeks. But even these supplementary players, I mean, Darnell Mooney in a high-power offense, the number 2, absolutely nothing. It doesn't matter if it's Michael Penix. It doesn't matter if it's Kirk Cousins. He's just not a person or a wide receiver that they're looking to get the ball to. It looks to be, Drake London, who we're going to talk about, and Kyle Pitts. It seems like the 2, and then you have Bijan, who's going to get his work as well. He's the odd man out, it seems. Matt Collins kind of view this as, just a player. The wide receiver room there is kind of crazy with Boucher. Demario Douglas actually caught a touchdown in this one. You have Stephon Diggs there as well. Hunter Henry's going to get his looks. Spread the ball around a little much for that, and Matt Collins is going to have, in week 8 he did have 12 points, but I think around the 4 to 5 point range is probably where he's most likely to be at going forward. So not good. And then Jameson Williams, hard to trust. I mean, scored 0 in week 7 and then scores 14 this week. You just don't know when you're going to play him. I can sympathize as an owner of him in another league. So remains boomer bust, hard to trust. He just needs Ricky Pearsall, Garrett Wilson, and really Travis Hunter to come back to really stabilize this team. So I'm worried.
Now, finally, we are moving on to the next matchup. It is Dustin and the Berlin Banshees from the remote, exotic land of Cambodia this week. World traveler Dustin gets his 7th win of the season with a 150.56 to 100.22 drubbing of the Owings Mills Ozempic, who fall to 3-6, the number 10 team in the standings. The Banshees at 7-2 got the job done.
Wait, sound effect. Sound effect time. All right, go ahead.
I need to put that in the show notes. Yeah, it was.
It's shocking that we have show notes about how flawless this goes.
Yeah, well, I finished them last minute too and sent them to you a couple minutes before the show. But anyway, the running backs, the wide receivers, my goodness, 150 fantasy points due in large part to these guys. Bijan Robinson, 13. Kyron Williams, 17. Drake London, 34. Devontae Adams, 20. Rashee Rice, 16. Jalen Waddle, 11 points. All of these guys in double digits. Most of these guys, all of these guys except for one, except for 2, had touchdowns. It was Drake London that had 3. It was Devontae Adams continuing his tear with 2. That's really the story for me, Adam, this week. Those key positions, running back and wide receiver, carrying Dustin to a big week 9 victory.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm guessing you're going to pull from that one of those 2 positions for your favorite performer this week as your beast.
Well, I kind of want to talk about. I'm not going to go with the obvious one. But Rashee Rice. So Rashee Rice, I want to kind of talk about a little bit. Okay.
Why don't you not?
Okay, I'm not. I didn't read the show notes. I'm sorry. All right, let's go with Davante Adams because I don't want to go obvious. He scores 20 points in this one against a very poor New Orleans team. Only plays 60% of snaps is probably because they were well far ahead and didn't need to play their starters, but 7 targets, catches 2 touchdowns, even in an offense that's dominated by Puka Nacua. It does not seem to matter. Devontae Adams is now the 7th wide receiver in fantasy football, which is astounding for someone that's picked in the 5th round. Has only had 2 games of single-digit points, so he is consistent and he is good. He fits perfect in that Rams offense. He is my beast for Week 9.
You might have to look to a different position, Adam. Maybe it's quarterback, maybe it's tight end, but who's your bust this week?
Yeah, so my tight end is going to be Tyler Warren. Now 2 straight games of single-digit points. It seems like they're starting to, or Dale Jones rather, is starting to get really comfortable with these wide receivers that they have. Very talented wide receivers. I think it's a very underrated wide receiver room with Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, and Alex Pierce. So, his involvement's kind of low here. Still gets 7 targets, which is nice, but only 5 catches for 26. Pittsburgh was a team I feel like you could exploit in the tight end position, but it did not seem to happen in this one. They were behind as well, so you were hoping to see his usage a much higher, but, rookie tight ends on a crowded offense, Jonathan Taylor there as well, vying for targets and catches. He is my bust for Week 9.
Something tells me that maybe the Steelers made a concerted effort to take him away in this game. The other kind of outlier stat for Warren this week is he caught 5 balls for 26 yards. He had a very inefficient day. His 3.71 yards per target number is by far his lowest of the season. I mean, this is a guy who's typically getting, and upwards of 13, 14 yards per target. 3 yards per target is horrendously low for Warren. So definitely an outlier week. I think better days ahead for Warren. All right, well, after 9 weeks, the Banshees have far and away been the most consistently good team in the Beltway Wars Invitational, and is probably the odds-on favorite to win it all this season. Dustin got a boost a few weeks ago with the return of Rashee Rice, who has posted games of 19.7, 21, and 16.6 since returning to game action for the Chiefs. As a reminder, Adam, Rice was selected with the 2nd pick of the 7th round. Aside from maybe Javonte Williams in the 9th, is Rice on pace to be the steal of the draft?
I believe so. I mean, if you could eat those first 6 weeks, and then like Dustin did, now he has a guy who, if we were drafting today, I think he's a 1st-round pick. And I don't think it's really, maybe there's a debate there, but I think he's middle to late round 1st-round pick. I mean, he's just consistent. He's on a good offense. He is the number 1 wide receiver on that offense. Patrick Mahomes has had a renaissance in terms of passing the ball. They can't run the ball, even though I forget who it was. I think it was Romo saying that they could run the ball really well, which I was like, have you watched any Chiefs games or looked at any stats? But yeah, he's just amazing. He runs the ball in for a touchdown in this one, so hasn't been under 40 yards thus far, and even in that 40-yard game, he caught 2 touchdowns. So. Steal the draft for sure, and probably a number 1 1st-round draft pick next year.
Only a possibility the way he's playing if he finishes the season doing this. I mean, man, he might be a no-doubter. He might surpass Javonte Williams in that steal of the draft category. All right, well, let us move on to the losing side here. It's Alex, 100.22 fantasy points this week. Seemed to have been it's like a typical Alex game this year. It's Josh Allen consistently over 20 fantasy points, but it's
sound effect. So, just looking at his squad, he had a lot of in-game injuries. So I think the injury goblin got him this week. Oh, God. Yes. He keeps laughing. Okay. All right, there you go.
Put that thing away for Halloween. Halloween's over. We're in November. Put that thing away, whatever it was. Yes, injuries and just kind of underwhelming performances from some guys you're hoping to get more out of, like Derrick Henry. It was 119 yards, but like Zay Flowers, he still, isn't consistently in the end zone as much as we'd like. He's kind of going back and forth. He's got touchdowns in every other game this year. He's not stringing these games together of consistent fantasy production, in the big type of numbers that we expect from a star like Derrick Henry. Marvin Harrison, pretty good game here, 7 for 10. Got into the end zone in this one against the Cowboys. It's Jacoby Brissett throwing him the ball. Seemingly has a decent enough connection here. Has a nice game against a very bad Cowboys defense. But other than that, Adam, like an injured Tucker Kraft that we'll talk about more. Luke McCaffrey, he got a 0 for me earlier this year. He gets a 0 for Alex in week 9. The Commanders defense with -1, getting drubbed by Seattle. So, some bye week blues with Emeka Egbuka, bye. Terry McLaurin missing another game with injury.
And Swift.
DeAndre Swift missing an injury. So just a tough week here. 100 points isn't going to get the job done for Alex. But who do you want to talk about here as kind of the silver lining for Alex this week?
Yeah, so I think the interesting one is Marvin Harrison. Crazy stat that I had no idea. 7 catches is his most in his career.
Oh, boy.
7. And he got 7 in this one. 96 yards, which is his second highest of the season. Also scores a touchdown, his third touchdown of the season. Kyler Murray now going on IR certainly helps. I mean, you like... oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name. Jacoby Brissett. Being the quarterback there, he's more established, more of a pocket passer, can get the ball to the playmakers, Trey McBride as well. So you like to see that. Again, Dallas is bad defense. But again, 10 targets, his most on the season, 7 catches, his most of the season. He is my beast for week 9 because I feel like you're going to see more of this going forward for Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, 72% of the snaps is actually kind of on the low end for him. So maybe more in store.
I think that was because they were ahead and they were trying to kill clock.
Probably true. Yeah, absolutely. That's just certainly true. That was Marvin Harrison as your beast this week. So Adam, a couple more choices here for your bust.
Yeah, Washington's defense. This is very weird to me. That this would be the decision to do. Seattle, good offense. Sam Darnold looks pretty good. You have Jackson Smith and Jigba there as well. You have Kenneth Walker. You have Charbonnet. You have a couple tight ends there as well. I know Cooper Kupp didn't play in this one. But just kind of a head scratcher, kind of defensive play here. I don't think anyone thinks that the Commanders are a good defense, and with Seattle being a good offense, that was kind of an interesting play to me. Scores negative points in this one. They are my bust, and it's more of a bust for Alex because I'm just head scratching of why he would make that decision.
Yeah, it is certainly tough, and the Commanders, we're missing McLaurin, so the offense wasn't working very well there. So certainly, it seems like the defense was on the defensive, no pun intended, for most of this game. 38 points to the Seahawks is not fun, and they are now off of Alex's roster.
Yeah.
But as I alluded to earlier, this team, the Ozempic, are yet another team that's been devastated by injuries this season. After returning from an extended absence in Week 8, wide receiver Terry McLaurin missed yet another game for the Commanders. Will now also be without Jaden Daniels for an extended period of time. DeAndre Swift sat out in Week 9 with a nagging groin injury that he had been playing through for the last couple of weeks. And now, as you said earlier, may be in a committee with Kyle Monangai when he returns. And then we get to this week's brutal season-ending ACL tear for the league's top-scoring tight end, Tucker Kraft. with only Adam Chigokonkwo on the bench for Alex. Is this injury to Kraft kind of the nail in the coffin for Alex this season?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, he was such a good little find for Alex, drafting him in the 9th round, and then he also picked him up on waivers he dropped him on waivers, I'm sorry, but he picked him in the 9th round. Was on to a career year. Jordan Love really found him, could throw the ball up to him. He could, when there's 50-50 balls, it's just too much now. Who are you going to put at tight end? You're going to have to do a committee, probably picking up 2 just to try to play the best matchups. But just with the weaknesses on this team, it's losing your top performer, especially a top tight end like that. I think that is the nail in the coffin for Alex.
I would agree with that for sure. Okay, next matchup, Adam. It's Jake versus Tom, the Penn Prairie Wolves, getting the victory 133-54 over the Finksburg Kinks with 78.32. Another blowout here. It is the Prairie Wolves getting the victory to advance to 3-6. These are the bottom 2 teams after 9 weeks, Adam. 11 for Jake and 12 for Tom. So a battle of the basement here indeed. It was Jackson Dart continuing his kind of very good, excitingly good rookie season with 27 fantasy points, his second highest total on the year.
I need those sound effects. Jake, you need a sound effect. You won this week. Sorry, I let Pat just mutter on there while I'm trying to find a sound for you. Let's see. You're now 3-6, so we're just going to do this sound.
The only thing I'm addicted to right now is winning.
The only thing he's addicted to right now is winning for week 9. All right, go ahead. Jackson Dart.
Yeah, Jackson Dart continuing his dominance here. 15 or more fantasy points in each of his last 6 games. So kind of a very good floor here for Jackson Dart. Christian McCaffrey rebounds from an uncharacteristically bad performance in Week 8 with a characteristically good performance in Week 9 with 31.8 for McCaffrey this week. Continuing to get good production out of Jackson Smith and Jigba with 18. Sam Laporta with 18. Aaron Jones does get some run here, does get over 10, which is kind of a good thing for Jones, but just 9 carries there, so a little bit of a mixed bag. Does have some weak performers here. One of them you're probably going to talk about, Adam Chimere Dike with 1 point this week. Zonovan Knight, the running back in Arizona, very disappointing. Just 5.7 for the Cardinals. Tough one there for the running back. And then a guy that we'll talk about later, Adam, when talking about tight ends, Dalton Kincaid with 19 on the bench. Jake does have Trey Benson. We should mention that on IR, possibly set to return in Week 10. We'll see if he is eligible to come off of the injured reserve list this week. A couple options to talk about, Adam. Who's it going to be as your beast in week number 9?
Yeah, so my beast is actually going to be Sam Laporta. Just a great game. I mean, he's kind of slowly coming back to, that 2023 kind of year where he's a central point of that offense along with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Looks like they're leaning a little further away from the running backs a little bit, so he's making the most of it. 8 targets, the second most of the season. 6 catches, tied for his most of the season. 97 yards, his most of the season as well. Catches a touchdown in this one. He's, I think he's a start and forget kind of tight end right now. He is now tight end number 7. He is my beast for week 9.
Yeah, 4 top 6 weeks for Sam Laporta at the tight end position. 3 of his last 4 weeks, he has been exactly tight end number 4. So definitely, seems to be a top 5 option most of the time right now. You are exactly right, regaining his former form here. Struggling a bit last year. Definitely a solid 18-point fantasy game for Laporta. Okay, Adam, I mentioned DK, I mentioned Knight. probably want to talk about one of these guys.
Yeah, I think Bam Knight, I mean, it's just like you said, kind of a weird game. I mean, they were ahead in this one. They were, stopping the Dallas offense. Primarily, they were ahead. They should have got more run than 9 carries. I know that he was a favorite kind of plug and play for this week, just with the injuries that they had. At the running back position, Jacoby Brissett isn't going to be running the ball too much. You would think that he would have got, 16, 17 carries. He only gets 9 in this one. Very disappointing. Now, Jake does have Trey Benson, so when he comes back, he's going to assume his starter role. But then DeMarcado actually gets more carries than Bam Knight in this one. He was in the doghouse. He looked really good. I watched this game a lot, actually, because I did have Dak. So, that's kind of interesting there. It was just disappointing with the amount of hype that he was getting. He is my bust for Week 9.
You mentioned the split with DeMarcado. Bam Knight, 57% of snaps. It was his season high. I mean, he was kind of launched into the starting role here in the last week, but it was DeMarcado with his season high at 40% of snaps. So kind of a split backfield situation, at least in Week 9. Tough day at the office for Bam Knight. How about we talk about the tight ends? Not only wrong team. Last week, Jake completed a late week waiver wire acquisition. Dalton Kincaid. Again, I feel like we talk about a lot of players that you drop that get picked up. It was Dalton Kincaid, someone that you dropped 4 days prior to Jake grabbing him, I think. It was here in Week 9 that Kincaid went off for 19.1 fantasy points. Granted, it was on the bench. He was behind starter Sam Laporta's 18 fantasy points. Laporta and Kincaid are now tight ends number 7 and number 8, respectively, and both of these guys are actually past their bye. So given a scarcity of talent at some of the other positions for Jake, should he consider starting both of these tight ends moving forward?
I mean, it's definitely a consideration. Would I feel good about it? No. There's still Dalton Knox's zombie corpse there. He could score 2 touchdowns in one game, kind of steal some thunder from Dalton Kincaid. As a former Dalton Kincaid owner in previous years, I know that feeling. I'm not a big fan on starting the 2 tight ends unless you have one of those top 4 tight ends. Much higher on Sam Laporta. It seems like he's back to where he was. So as of right now, I would say no, as long as, Aaron Jones is still healthy. I think you're still throwing him in that flex spot. In terms of that, Christian Watson also, doing something. He's that deep play threat for the Packers. Also have A.J. Brown coming back as well from bye. So I think it's a little too much, and I just, I worry that Jake's going to start 2 of them, and then Dalton Kincaid's going to have a 4-point day where you probably get more consistency out of the running back or a wide receiver.
Moving to the losing side here, Adam, if there was a sound.
Yes, I got one.
That would describe 78.32 fantasy point performance in Week 9, what would it be?
Well, I'm going to do this one. It is a submarine alarm sound because Tom's season is just about over at 2-7. But go ahead and let's go through his lineup.
Yeah, I mean, alarm sounds when you're sensing danger. I think that submarine might be at the bottom of the ocean at this point, or blown up by Ukraine or something like that. But it's a struggle fest right now for Tom this week, taking the loss, 78 fantasy points. Was it the lowest on the week? It wasn't,
for sure.
Second lowest. It
was,
Josh, we'll get to later on. But 78, that's a struggle. Trying to find the matchup here. I don't know where to begin. I mean, Jaden Daniels left this game early with a gruesome arm injury that's going to hold him out. Nice day for Chase Brown, but he's no longer on the roster.
Yeah.
Trade.
Yeah.
Guys like, all the receivers here under 10 fantasy points, McMillan, Sutton, Addison, Kayshon Boutte with a goose egg left this game. Like, when it rains, it pours, and it is pouring cats and dogs for the Finksburg Kinks. Is there a bright spot here?
Did you want to talk about the trade here? Because, I mean, this is one part of it.
We can. Go ahead.
So, I mean, the trade was for Chase Brown, for Alex Pierce, and Matthew Stafford. Now, I do understand you have to make that move because Jan Daniels is now out for the year in a game that he should not even been playing in at that point, what the score was. But you get rid of probably your highest ceiling guy, it seems like, in Chase Brown. And you have a ton of wide receivers here. So, he's going to be starting Krosky Merritt and Tajay Spears. I mean, that's who he's going to be starting as his running backs. It's not great. So I think that out of all the trades, this was kind of the one that made me scratch my head a little bit in terms of what the reasoning was for Tom.
Yeah, I mean, at the position of quarterback, are there options out there in free agency on waivers that you feel like you can get enough of a floor by streaming while not trading away kind of like you said, one of your highest upside position players? Certainly, could go either way on that one. Maybe just certainly made out of desperation here for Tom, but definitely hear your side.
Well, forgive me. He does have Saquon Barkley as well, so that he's going to start him or either Tajay Spears or Krosky Merritt.
As long as he's healthy.
As long as he's healthy.
As long as he's healthy and happy, maybe. A.J. Brown certainly is not. Okay, do you want to talk about any of these guys? I mean, if you take Daniels out of the equation, if you take Chase Brown out of the equation, there weren't any other double-digit scorers in the starting lineup, Adam, but is there someone else you want to mention?
No, I mean, let's just talk about Jane Daniels. He had a pretty good fantasy season. I mean, he didn't score under 17 points throughout the entire, except for this one. Was a high draft pick, from his season of last, where he ended up quarterback number 5. He did have 2 rushing touchdowns. That's, you want to talk about nails in the coffin. That's kind of it right there with Jan Daniels going down. Now, Matthew Stafford has been good, but he doesn't have the floor that Jan Daniels has with his rushing ability. Good. He had a good season. He's just out now and, was injured through week 3 and week 4, injured in week 8, and now gone for the season in week 9. So he is a very interesting player to look at for next all season to see where he would go. Maybe a bounce back into that top 10. But he is my beast for week 9 because he will not be a beast for the rest of the season.
No notes from me, Adam. We'll go right back to you for a bust this week if you've got one.
Yeah, it's just... I don't even know where to really begin. I mean, Courtland Sutton's kind of weird. I mean, he catches a touchdown in this one, but, one catch. And I know it's Houston's defense, so they're pretty good. But, you're expecting this guy to get like 10 to 12 targets a game, and it's just like not happening. It's like he has one game of 4, one game of 3, a couple at 6. He has 2 at 10. But, you're expecting him to be like that Devontae Adams or like, maybe not the Puka Nacua level, but you want him like Nico Collins level, with getting the 10 to 12 targets each and every game, being that number 1 option in Denver. He goes against Las Vegas in week 10, so that's good news. But, wide receiver 12 still doing, okay, but you want him, you're drafting him, and he did have the ability to be in the top 10 this year, maybe even top 5. Just because of the lack of options there in Denver. He is my bust for week 9.
Is this like a Sean Payton thing where, like, I
don't know. He had Michael Thomas. Like they're in Houston. I mean, Marquise Colston. Like, he knows how to get the wide receivers the ball.
But does he vary his game plan so much? Is that the reason for some of the inconsistency here for Sutton? Because you're right, you pointed out that just the highly varied target range and fantasy point range is like it's so sporadic and unpredictable, it seems.
Yeah, this is another one of those teams where I feel like they like have an offensive identity crisis, where it's like they don't know what they want to be. Run first, get the tight ends involved. Troy Franklin's doing things. It's just kind of all over the place. Bo Nix has been kind of inconsistent this year. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I guess to wrap this thing up, I mean, we talked about Jaden Daniels, we talked about Kayshon Boutte, Matthew Golden left this game early.
Yeah, what a disappointment he's been. Yeah, he's been a disappointment.
We were talking him up in the draft recap.
Yeah,
he has showed up. He's day to day. I think it looks like Boutte might be week to week. Jaden Daniels will miss a lot of time. There was a chance Tom stashing Isaiah Davis in the hopes that Breece Hall was going to get traded at the deadline. He did not. So that's not going to work out very well, barring an injury. He can't catch a break here. And I don't know really what else to say, Adam. So, do you have any other closing thoughts for Tom this week or this season?
No, I mean, I think he's got to win out, and I don't see that happening. So, to even have a chance.
All right, well, let's move over to a happier subject. Adam, for you, it's a victory in Week 9, and a big one, a close one, but an important one for you. You jump up 2 spots, and
I got a sound effect.
Let's go for it.
Flawless victory.
Flawless victory for me this week. Even though I predicted my own downfall, my fantasy karma knows no bounds.
It's not even though you predicted your own downfall. It's because you predicted your own downfall that you got the victory here. Fantasy karma certainly strikes again. 130.38 to 118.58 over the Timonium Neon Tubes. 5-4 for both of these teams. Brian still has a slight edge on you by 1 in the standings. Both of you currently in playoff position. 130 points. It was due in large part to a couple of your running backs here, actually a trio of running backs, as Ashton Genty, Devin Achane, and Travis Etienne were all between 13 and 18 fantasy points. All got work. Achane, 14 carries, Genty, 13. Etienne, a big number here, 22 carries. In a game that Jacksonville won and a game that Jacksonville did a lot of running in.
Yeah.
So nice to see there. The receivers, so good. DJ Moore, a nice performance here, taking all of that, all the fantasy points for the Bears. It was none for Odunze on the other side. It was all of them for DJ Moore. That inevitably made the difference in this game, Adam. So nice stroke of good luck for you there. It was Michael Pittman continuing to perform at a very high level. He's the number 6 wide receiver these days.
Yeah.
Kind of a unsexy name that we've talked about a little bit, but a guy that maybe was a little bit underrated coming into the draft. Tough one for Kittle here, 4.9 fantasy points, just 32 yards through the air, despite a good matchup against the Giants. So we're going to talk a little bit, Adam, about your trade later and the changing situations for a couple guys on your team. But who do you want to highlight as your beast in week number 9?
So making his beast debut, that's going to be DJ Moore. And what a weird stat line. He throws one to Caleb Williams, and then he runs one in, and the Bengals challenge it. They say, no, he fumbled out of the end zone, and he got stopped at the 1. And they say he stopped at the 1, he fumbled in the end zone. They challenge it, and then they reverse it, saying he actually scored a touchdown. So that is just the weirdest thing ever. He can't catch a touchdown to save his life, but he can run one in and throw one as well. He has now thrown as many touchdowns as he has caught touchdowns this season. kind of interesting that it was kind of weird with Roma Dunze not getting any catches, 0 points in this one. Does that spell that DJ Moore is going to be more involved? I hope so. DJ Moore kind of reminds me of Deebo Samuel with the San Francisco 49ers of a couple years ago. Runs the ball a little bit, kind of that gadget player in the slot. Tough as nails as well. Best game of the season by far. So, I like to see it and hope it goes forward, but he is my beast for Week 9.
DJ Moore, of course, a Maryland, University of Maryland alumni. Good to see the homegrown kid getting his fantasy points for your team this week, Adam. Okay, I don't know, Kittle. He may be the only option.
It's
here.
Kittle.
You had everybody except for Brian Thomas and Kittle in double digits.
Well, I was thinking maybe Dak as well. He had a kind of a poor game against Arizona, but. Kittle here, I just can't wait for Brock Purdy to get back. It's like, please, for the love of God, get back. Just with Mac Jones, it doesn't seem like he looks for him a lot. They kind of seem... I don't think Mac Jones actually moves as well as Brock Purdy does, so I think they want to do like max protections. Kittle is a good blocker as well. People forget about that. So, only 4 targets in this one, 32 yards. Nothing really happening. Purdy comes back. I think that changes. But he is my bust for Week 9 and hoping for better things because he's my only tight end on the roster.
Yeah, look, the workload is there, 86% of snaps. He is certainly on the field, more so at this point than any of the wide receivers, but just an unfortunate stat line there for Kittle. Okay, Adam, I'm going to let you talk a lot more here, but I'm going to give you an introduction because there's kind of a lot of stuff to talk about with a couple players here. So we talked about your deal earlier, acquiring Brian Thomas Jr. Shortly after that deal was made, the Jags suddenly and unexpectedly placed fellow receiver Travis Hunter on IR, which immediately boosted BTJ's value. You texted me about that when it happened, that, hey, that's a stroke of good luck, another one for you. And then at the deadline, the Jags also acquired disgruntled receiver Jacoby Myers from the Raiders. Interestingly, though, this trade knocks BTJ's value maybe down a half a peg. It also boosts another receiver on your team, and that would be Trey Tucker, who is now set to become the new top wideout in Las Vegas. So kind of an interesting tangled web we weave here, interesting sequence of events. What do you make of all of this?
So just to start with Trey Tucker, I love it. He's, a very talented player. They always hype him up, the coaching staff there in LA. It's just Geno Smith sucks. He just sucks. He can't get the ball down the field. And that's what Trey Tucker really does well. He's a speedster. He kick returns for them as well. On the field, 97% of the snaps. But it's just like until they go to Kenny Pickett, it's kind of like his upside's kind of capped. He did have that one big game of 36 points in Week 3, but after that hasn't hit double-digit points. So it's definitely better. I think Jacoby Myers was garnering around 7 to 8 targets, so that is more targets. Definitely good, but they also did bring in Tyler Lockett a couple weeks ago, which is a Sean Payton protege from his time in Seattle, so maybe he gets more looks in this offense as well. It's just kind of remains to be seen. Hopefully this team is so bad that they do make a quarterback change and Trey Tucker's value goes up. Now, in terms of Brian Thomas, who knows what to make of it? It kind of seems like he kind of seems like one of those weird ones where he's not a true number one and he can't go against the number one corner. Now with more playmakers in the passing attack for Jacksonville, maybe that opens him up a little bit more. He does have Houston Week 10. Even if he does play, he did get injured at the end of the game in Week 9. So it remains to be seen. He's still a talented player. The coaching staff's hyping him up. They said his practice last week was the best he's practiced all season. So I don't know what to make of it right now. Now, I'm always a little cautious about hyping up players moving to other teams. We saw that last year with Amari Cooper going to the Bills. He did absolutely nothing where I thought he was actually going to do something. So little probably lower on Jacoby Myers and his value there in Jacksonville, but Brian Thomas just kind of seems like a guy. If I can get wide receiver 2 value out of him, I'd be stoked. But it remains to be seen right now.
Let's move over to your opponent here, the losing side, Timonium Neon Trees, Brian's team. Gets another big day out of Rico Dowdle.
And let's do a sound effect. I did the death sound effect from GTA.
Right, very good. Well, Rico Dowdle was not a loser this week.
No.
He comes back. The Carolina Panthers, after getting some slack from fans and the media about Chuba Hubbard and Rico Dowdle, and Dowdle's performing so well. Had 2 30-point days back to back in weeks 5 and 6. He comes back in week 9 and gets almost nearly there against a good Packers team, 27 fantasy points. Adam, maybe we'll talk about him. I'll leave the rest for you here in a moment. Did get solid production, not great, but good production out of Justin Jefferson, out of Quentin Johnston, out of Trey McBride, out of Josh Downs. All 4 of these guys, these pass catchers, were between 12 and 15 fantasy points. So consistent. Again, good, but not great. Limited yards for some of these guys. Getting into the end zone, but Jefferson, 47 yards. Quentin Johnson, 53 yards. McBride, 55 yards. Josh Downs, 57 yards. So really similar stat lines for all of these guys. If one of these guys, or if Rome Madunze would have done anything, but if any one of these guys would have maybe added a second touchdown, gone over 100 yards, you might have had that other guy, like a Rico Dowdle with 27, that could have put Brian over the edge in this one. So I assume you want to talk about Rico Dowdle. Is there another guy maybe you want to mention?
No, Rico Dowdle's it. I mean, it doesn't seem to matter that Chuba Hubbard and Rico Dowdle are splitting the carries. It seems like this team is a run-first team. Their defense is better than I think a lot of people expected. They really kept the Green Bay Packers in check in this one, kept them in the game. And as long as they're in the game, Rico Dowdle's going to get this amount of work along with Chuba Hubbard. And it doesn't really even seem to matter what the scoreline is. It seems like their offenses run the ball, and that's what they're going to do. And, this is his, 3rd game and 5, really true starts where he's gone over 100 yards. I mean, he has a 206 game, a 183, and then a 130. 2 touchdowns, his best of the season. He is my beast for week 9. And look at that next matchup coming up against New Orleans. That is salivation territory for Brian next week.
Yeah, after coming back from injury a couple of weeks ago, Chuba Hubbard had the slight edge over Rico Dowdle. Didn't do very much with it. And then all of a sudden in week 9, 72% snaps for Dowdle, 22% snaps for Hubbard.
I think it's over.
Tied.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of like the Zach Charbonnet, Kenneth Walker kind of deal. It's just going to be that kind of split now where Chuba Hubbard is now Zach Charbonnet. He's going to have his games, but it's not going to be consistent.
Yeah, by the way, the other thing to kind of note here as an interesting thing, like the Panthers have won some games this year.
Yeah. Dave Cannell's Coach of the Year if they get in the playoffs.
I mean, look, if they're winning and Rico Dowdle is playing a role in it, you're absolutely right that it's over for Chuba Hubbard. I mean, they are sensing a little bit of success for an organization that has not had much. So it would be foolish to do anything other than feed Dowdle the ball.
Yeah, and I think Rico Dowdle's the runaway right now for a waiver pickup of the year.
That could be true as well, for sure. He was picked up when?
He was picked up September 23rd for $3.
$3, yeah. So probably after his breakout game, his first breakout game. All right, well, Adam, we're going to actually skip the bust because I'm going to ask you about some players, 3 of which are the top candidates probably for your bust this week. So I want to do the worryometer. I want you to break out the worryometer and give me on a scale of 0 to 10. How worried
I'm
are
winding
you
on my
about?
worryometer. It's a wind up. It's
Is
not
that just
electricity.
wind?
Yeah, it's not
Okay, it's a
electricity.
wind up.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about a few of these guys. The first being at the top here, Daniel Jones,
Yeah.
quarterback for Brian. He threw 3 interceptions against the Steelers in what seemed to be like it. The Steelers defense has not been what we're used to seeing this year. Maybe they're getting healthier. Maybe they're getting a little bit better. But 3 interceptions, looking like Daniel Jones from his New York Giants days. It was his lowest fantasy output with 14 points this week since week 4. His upcoming schedule is
Yeah.
Atlanta,
Yeah, it's not.
then a bye, Kansas City, and then Houston. So what's your level of worry on Daniel Jones?
Oh. I'm worried. I mean, especially just because of, I mean, looking at his first 9 starts. I mean, one good defense in there, or really two. The Rams and Denver. He does well against Denver, but has his worst game of the season against the Rams. So, all these other games where he had Miami, terrible defense. Arizona, not a good defense. Chargers, not a good defense. Tennessee, not a good defense. Now he has Atlanta, Kansas City, Houston, Jacksonville, who's a pretty good defense or can be a good defense. Seattle, who's Mike McDonald, can have a good defense there. San Francisco as well. I mean, I think if the trade deadline was, a week from now, I think he would be a sell high. Just try to get out from under him because I could see him regressing a little bit going forward.
Yeah, might be playing the matchups between Daniel Jones and Bo Nix for the rest.
Oh, for sure.
All right, next player here, Kamani Vidal, the running back. He has now, this is the running back for the Chargers, getting the starts these days for the injured Amarian Hampton. He's had less than 3 yards per carry in 2 of the last 3 games. He's posted just 3 points this week in week 9. And the Chargers just lost key lineman Joe Alt for the season. So what's your level of worry here while Kamani Vidal remains the starting running back for the Chargers?
I'm worried because he's only going to have 2 more games. And then he's going to be useless because Hampton's coming back after the bye. Pittsburgh, kind of Jekyll and Hyde kind of defense. Jacksonville, we kind of mentioned, has a better defense than what's shown. And now the Chargers seem to be going more in that passing direction just because of the injuries at the running back position, Najee Harris and Amarian Hampton. I'm worried. I'm like at a 8 because after next week and maybe against Jacksonville, he's going to be unstartable with Amarian Hampton coming back.
They did say that Hampton's injury may go beyond the minimum minimum IR period.
Okay,
so that's possible as well. By the way, Daniel Jones. I don't think you gave me a number, worryometer number on Daniel Jones.
A 7.
7. Okay, so 7 for Jones. I was going to go 6.5. Vidal, you gave an 8. I would agree with that. Maybe a 7. I think I'm a little bit less worried there. And then I want to talk about Rome Odunze, the guy we buried the lead a little bit here, the goose egg for Odunze this week. The Bears hung 47 points on the Bengals in week 9. Odunze had the goose egg. But it's more than just this week, Adam. He's now scored less than 5 points in 3 of 4 games, and other playmakers like Kyle Monangai and Colston Loveland, the tight end, are emerging in this offense. So what's your level of worry on Odunze?
I'm a little worried. 3 of his last 4 under 5 points. The dream matchup against the Bengals in Week 9, only 3 targets, which is this season low as well. Seems like they're spraying the ball around a little more to DJ Moore, doing his kind of scat back wide receiver kind of thing. And then Zacchaeus, also getting a lot of work too, it seems like. Goes for 8 for 6 for 58. So he is demanding some targets. And then Colston Loveland has his career day as well. It just kind of seems like, I don't know, kind of inconsistent. He started, Odunze started off the season really well. first 4 weeks, over 10 points in each of them. But now it's kind of coming back down to earth. Maybe teams are game planning for him, taking him away. And maybe Caleb Williams is trying to spread the ball around a little more. I don't know. A little bit concerned. I would say a 7 as well for Rome Odunze.
Yeah, I think three or four games struggling. It's hard not to be concerned about Odunze. Okay, Adam, we'll move over to the next matchup. Cue your sound effect because we're going to be talking about Charlie first and foremost. He gets a big win here.
Yeah. I specifically added the sound for Charlie for this week. It was a victorious sound because Charlie was like, if I beat Sarah and Dustin in back-to-back weeks, I'm going to be talking all the smack. And he does it in this one. Goes to 6-3.
He does. 103 points. Nothing flashy, but gets the job done here to move to 6-3. Now the number 3 team in the standings. He does it on a week, Adam, where 2 of his key players, Breece Hall, his third-round pick, and Devontae Smith, his 6th-round wide receiver, were both on bye. So nice to get a victory with a couple key players on bye. The team, of course, led by quarterback Lamar Jackson, who had a really efficient day here, 204 yards on 18 of 23. Another one of those classic kind of like Lamar Jackson statistical success stories over the Dolphins. He seems to, his QB rating, I think they said on the broadcast he has 2 perfect QB ratings against the Dolphins in his career. I don't think he was perfect there this week, but he got pretty close. 4 touchdowns in this game. And that was kind of all she wrote. I mean, not a whole lot else to talk about. Alec Pierce, the next best performer, 14.5 points. He's no longer on the team, Adam, so I don't want to spend too much time talking about Alec Pierce. But other than that, I mean, like Kenneth Walker, 7 points. Nick Chubb, 11 carries, 3.4 fantasy points. Nico Collins, 11. You like the 11 targets that he gets, but 11 fantasy points, you hope for more there. Deebo Samuel, just that game against Seattle that was just in a game where they were trailing by so many points. You'd like to see their wide receiver 1 get some more fantasy action here. Travis Kelce, the new acquisition, does get a double-digit performance, but not much to talk about here. It's nice to get the victory. Lamar Jackson is probably the beast.
Yeah, I got to talk about Lamar again. He is back. The king is back. Very efficient day, 18 of 23, only 23 attempts. He didn't need that many to throw 4 touchdowns. I don't even think he was fully healthy in this one. He wasn't moving around as like we are used to seeing Lamar move around. I think with the now extra time that he did have, should be close to fully healthy. You're starting him. He's a start and forget, like the phrase I use, and he's my beast for week 9, and how can he not be in the MVP conversation? Just how different the Ravens look with him on the field versus the backups. I mean, it's just a night and day offense with Lamar at the helm.
I agree. Again, we mentioned it earlier. The schedule eases up a little bit as Lamar Jackson continues to get healthy, continues to recover from that injury. Probably a top 3 quarterback, almost certainly moving forward.
Yeah.
Nice guy to get back for Charlie. Okay, some options for the bust. Adam, you could go in a number of directions. Who do you want to talk about here?
I want to talk about Kenneth Walker. Only 11 carries in a game that they were so far ahead in this one. I know Sam Darnold had a really nice day, very efficient. But, I think they were up like 20 by the half. I think it was like 24-0 at the half or something like that. So you're expecting him to get a lot more run. But, you still have Zach Charbonnet there getting 8 carries. If all those carries go to Kenneth Walker, now he has, around 20. So it's just kind of disappointing. I feel like we talk about this every year the past couple of years of just like, Kenneth Walker's good. but they're gonna use Zach Charbonnet, and it just kind of it limits his value in terms of his being drafted in the 4th round. Had 500 yards last year, which I think is kind of surprising. Maybe injury related. Only played 11 games, but 700 yards probably if he's fully healthy with Zach Charbonnet there. That is not good for a 4th round pick. So he is my bust for week 9.
The silver lining here for Walker, interestingly enough, was other than the game that Charbonnet missed in week 3, this was only the second time this season that Kenneth Walker had a higher snap percentage than Zach Charbonnet. In week 9, it was 57% Walker, 35% Charbonnet. So at least maybe something to look forward to there. But like you said, both of these guys struggled.
Yeah, I think it hurts him that Sam Darnold's playing so well. Like, it's just like they have another option there. Jackson Smith and Jigba, they want to get him the ball. I think this is now not a run-first team anymore.
Well, Charlie, you mentioned it earlier, was involved in 2 of the 3 trades that occurred in the last week. And when all was said and done, looking back at both of them, he gave up wide receivers Zay Flowers and Alec Pierce, along with quarterback Matthew Stafford, who was the 3rd quarterback on his team, in return for tight end Travis Kelce, running back Chase Brown, and wide receiver Darius Slayton. I happen to think that Charlie actually did a nice job of trading surplus assets and addressed a couple of glaring roster holes. So what do you think of these 2 trades combined? Again, sending Zay Flowers, Alec Pierce, and Matthew Stafford away for Travis Kelce, Chase Brown, and Darius Slayton.
Well, I mean, now he's going to have Chase Brown and, Breece Hall as his running backs, with Kenneth Walker probably being at the flex. And, he has Devontae Smith just, waiting in the wings, coming back from his bye. That you can fill that right in where Alex Pierce was as well. So, I think the biggest question is that hole at the 3rd wide receiver spot with Deebo Samuel. Can he be consistent with Marcus Mariota going forward? I don't know. But I think that, with the glaring holes that he did have, I think he supplemented them nicely with the trades, and I think he just made his team just a little bit stronger.
I think so, too. I think the end result, again, a nice job here to address some holes in the lineup. Harold Fannin was the tight end here that was starting. I think Kelce gives you a little bit more consistency in an offense that features him from time to time.
Yeah, I mean, he's tight end number 5. I mean, yeah.
All right, well, moving to the losing side here, Adam, what does it sound like when the Pasadena Pulveri scored just 80 points in a Week 9 loss to Charlie?
Emotional damage!
It's emotional damage for Miss Hughes in this one.
Okay, well, I'm not sure that we will have a smoother transition than that. How about that for you?
There. I like it. We're learning.
Getting better. Okay. Yikes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the Vikings had 10. CeeDee Lamb had 12, and George Pickens had 10. The rest of the players here, well, I guess Mahomes had 10. So a lot of barely double-digit performers, a lot of single-digit performers here. I don't know where to begin, Adam. Let's just spend the time. Let's actually just pick one beast, and if you want to talk about multiple busts, let's just go right there for Sarah's team.
Yeah, let's go Jonathan Taylor as the bust for this week. Now, he's been unreal this season, but against Pittsburgh, for whatever reason, they kind of got out of their game script that they're usually comfortable in. Only gets 14 carries in this one, 45 yards. They really bottled it up pretty well in this one. His worst performance of the season by far. It's just kind of like, if they get behind and then they have to throw, he doesn't really catch the ball too much out of the backfield. Just kind of one of those stinkers. I don't foresee this happening too often. But again, as we talked about Daniel Jones, tough schedule. I mean, you have Atlanta, Kansas City, Houston, Jacksonville. So, just kind of just a rough week. You're starting him, obviously. He's still the number 1 overall running back, but he is my beast, or he's my bust, actually, for week 9. I didn't even do a beast. I just went to the bust.
You started with bust. I mean, it's hard not to. The whole team struggled. How about this? Give me another bust. Let's talk about another one of these guys.
Well, the thing I kind of want to talk about, maybe it's not really a bust, but just kind of like when we talk about, we've talked about Sarah's team and stacking, right? We talked about like stacking wide receivers, the rare wide receiver stack, and it's like, yeah, 10 and 12, that's good, but like none of them blew up. Like George Pickens did not blow up, and CeeDee Lamb didn't blow up, and it's just kind of like if this Dallas offense struggles, you're going to have two people that are going to underperform, and that's really hard to overcome. When Patrick Mahomes has a bad day, Jordan Mason, we didn't even talk about him, but that does not look good either. Chris Olave with the rookie quarterback there as well. Keenan Allen just kind of in that Chargers wide receiver roulette that they have going on there. So, the stack giveth and the stack take it away. The stack take it away. And in this one, none of them blew up in a plus matchup against the Cardinals.
Is there a player you want to feature here as a beast, or do you just want to move on?
Minnesota defense. I mean, it's kind of a heady play to start them against Detroit, and they did well. Yeah. 5 sacks, a forced fumble. They had a blocked field goal as well. So 10 points. Out of your defense, that's average.
Okay, well, an unconventional week for Sarah leads to kind of an unconventional recap. I actually have 2 questions, Adam, that I want to talk to you about. The first one is actually about quarterbacks here, because like Sarah's team, I don't know that we've mentioned this, but she has quarterbacks number 1 and 2 in fantasy. Talk about trade targets. Patrick Mahomes, of course, the number 1 quarterback this year. Justin Herbert on the bench as the number 2 quarterback. Interestingly enough, Adam, for the last 3 weeks, comparing the stat lines and the fantasy totals for Herbert and Mahomes, Herbert has outperformed Mahomes each of the last 3 weeks, interestingly enough. So Herbert has done it with 55 attempts in week number 7. He's done it with 25 attempts in week 8, 29 attempts in week number 9. Mahomes is on bye this coming week, week 10. Herbert has a juicy matchup potentially against the Steelers. But when week 11 comes around, Herbert has the Jacksonville Jaguars. Mahomes comes back from his bye against the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
It's close.
It's closer than I think you're even giving it credit for it. Well, the thing I want you to kind of look at here, Mahomes has been unreal this year. He's the number 1 quarterback, whatever. Look at the rushing. This kind of surprised me a little bit. Justin Herbert, 57 yards, 62 yards, 31. 9 attempts, 7 attempts. That floor is getting awfully high if he continues to rush like that. I mean, he has another 60-yard rushing game. And that's kind of hard to, kind of sit, with that amount of floor that you have, especially with, his ability to throw it 55 times, as he did in week 7. I think you're starting Herbert against Jacksonville and sitting Mahomes against Denver just because Denver's defense is that good.
Or you're trading Herbert.
Am I trading Herbert?
No. Or I'm saying, Sarah is trading Herbert.
Well, you can't trade him. No. I think the trade deadline is over with, my friend.
Oh, isn't it this week?
I thought it was last week.
Trade deadline is this week. You will not be able to make or accept any trades after this week.
Okay, so she should be making some calls. Some people, if she feels like that, maybe Mahomes. I'd probably try to trade Mahomes, to be honest with you.
Either one. I mean, having quarterbacks 1 and 2 seems like you could get some value, some significant value at another position to set yourself up for a playoff run. Okay, Adam, last question here for Sarah. It was the rare, unfortunate kind of week, by the way, for Sarah. She did actually not have any player on this roster, quarterback included, with a touchdown in this week. Unless I'm wrong, right? I think I checked the stat lines. No touchdowns across the board. That usually does not happen very often. It was her season low in points, and similar to your team, Adam, a little bit. There were a few NFL trade deadline deals that may have boosted the value of a couple of her wide receivers. Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed, two guys that we didn't mention too much, are released from their New Orleans handcuff by virtue of Rashid Shaheed being dealt to the Seattle Seahawks. My question for you is, what does this do to the value of both Olave and Shaheed moving forward?
So Olave, I don't really think he's affected by it. I think that he was a lot better with Spencer Rattler at quarterback than the rookie. It's just not good for Chris Olave. You were hoping that Spencer Rattler could hold on. With Tyler Slough, you're also seeing, Tyson Hill in there as well, like doing his stupid thing that he does as an Alvin Kamara owner in another league, where he gets in a couple packages and, they're not throwing the ball when he's quarterback. So, I don't even think the trade really matters for him. I just think the change in quarterback really affects his value. Now, Shaheed, I think it's definitely a boost. Better offense, Sam Darnold, better quarterback. He's definitely going to be that deep threat that they really need in Seattle. Jackson Smith and Jigba, of course, is going to get his looks, but, Rashid Shaheed could get, 7 targets a game and maybe a home run hitter. So, if you're desperate and you want to try to go for that home run, I think he is now a viable option on a much better offense than New Orleans.
Right. Well, my fault, but we have talked entirely too long about a very bad week for Sarah. She's hoping to move on from this week, just as we are going to do, on to our last game of the evening. Adam, that would be Scott getting the victory here. The Westminster Wrecking Crew beating Josh's Curtis Bay Chum Buckets 96-82 to 75-84. It was the lowest scoring winner and the lowest scoring loser featured in this one. A sound effect for Scott getting the victory here despite the low 96-point score.
So it's kind of a melancholy victory because, only 96 points, but you will not apologize for victories.
Yeah, kind of missing the big performer here for Scott. Nobody quite getting to that 20-point mark. It was J.J. McCarthy, the quarterback, returning for the Vikings with 18. It was David Montgomery with 10. It was Jamar Chase with 14. And it was Kareem Hunt with 12. Other than those guys, everybody was under the Ravens defense, I suppose, also had a nice game with 13 points against the hapless Dolphins. But the rest of these guys were kind of in down territory this week. It was McConkey with 7. It was Metcalf with 1. Yikes. It was Tyrone Tracy. By the way, the changing circumstance, Adam, that I mentioned to you earlier was the backfield situation for Tracy here, not being the starting guy necessarily, Adam. Some bye week situations here. It was Quinshon Judkins did not have Judkins this week, who was on bye. That Browns defense, who is a normal starter. The Ravens, certainly a good fill-in for the Browns defense here. So, and then Kyler Murray, the situation continues to get worse with him. He is now on IR on the bench. He's been outplayed by Jacoby Brissett and dealing with that injury.
Well, he's been dropped as well, so he is a free agent.
Yep. He will remain a free agent as far as I'm concerned. So, what are we talking about here in terms of a beast this week?
First, I want to talk about J.J. McCarthy. That's kind of an interesting kind of play here. Scott held on to him by playing against Detroit. Scores a respectable 18 points in this one. Pretty inefficient for actually scoring 18 points, but does run a ball in for a touchdown, does throw 2 touchdowns. Looking at his next 3, Baltimore, I mean, you got to like him against Baltimore. I know that Miami only scored, what was it? I don't even know how many points they scored, but they were moving the ball against Baltimore. So you got to like that matchup, Chicago and then Green Bay. So he's my beast for this week, and I think he has a little bit of upside going forward. That'd be J.J. McCarthy.
And well, it's getting late, and I'm not feeling very creative right now. So let's continue with our worryometer here with a couple additional players that I want to talk about. Wind that worryometer
Gotta
up.
line it up way more. All right.
Well, first we're going to talk about a guy that you actually mentioned. You mentioned him in a positive light. I want to maybe put a little bit of a negative light on him.
Yeah.
Is J.J. McCarthy, the quarterback, making his return here? Very inefficient, 25 passing attempts, so not a ton of volume. He scored 19 fantasy points, but he is currently now the only quarterback on the roster for Scott. So with that in consideration, as the only quarterback on this roster, what is your level of worry for J.J. McCarthy?
5. I mean, how can you worry about it when you don't have a decision to make? I don't think that you're making a decision with anyone on the waiver wire. I think that he has better upside than any of those players left on waivers. Maybe you pick up, maybe Marcus Mariota. Maybe he can, with his running ability, maybe pick up him. But, against Baltimore, I think you're starting him. Baltimore hasn't really shown anything other than the turnovers from last week that they've gotten much better. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not as worried as you might be. And, he has Chicago after Baltimore. He scored 22 points against Chicago in week 1. So, yeah, 5.
Yeah, I mean, I'm worried in the fact that you're a bubble team. Scott is number 8. First team out at the moment, and staring at a not top 12 quarterback in any of the 3 weeks that he's played. So the worst quarterback in the Beltway Wars Invitational in terms of a starting option. So I think my worry is more based on he's got a lot of pressure to carry the load for Scott's team moving forward.
He could be the difference.
Yep. For sure. Okay, another guy that we did mention briefly, Tyrone Tracy. You traded him to Scott. He appears to be at an even split with veteran Devin Singletary. He posted just 5.2 fantasy points in his Wrecking Crew debut. What's your level of worry on former Badger Tyrone Tracy?
I'm going to put him at a 6.5. I don't know. Just Devin Singletary, he's just like so old. He's only 28, but I feel like he's been in the league for like 20 years. They gotta go with Tracy. He's the better back. I think there's a little bit of game script. I think they probably like Devin Singletary as the passing down back. But again, you're not even really worried about the passing attack because Jackson Dart's not going to throw to the running back. He's just going to take off and run. I think Tracy, he's going to get, around that 12 to 14 carries on most weeks. I think they got to debut him a little more just to kind of slow the game down with their defense being bad. Chicago, Green Bay, Detroit, not kind of in the middle of the road matchups. I'm going to put him at a 6.5.
Would be closer to like 8.
Okay.
For what you're expecting out of him. He was outsnapped by Devin Singletary 56-44. And by the way, Adam, I don't know if you took a peek at his matchups coming up.
Yeah, just did, yeah.
At Chicago, home to Green Bay, at Detroit, New England. So that's 3 away games. All 4 games against better than average running defenses. And then a bye in week 14, the last game of the regular season. So from here out, here to the end of the fantasy regular season, I don't know that I would feel comfortable starting.
Want to do a board bet? Our first board bet of the year?
What do you got?
Tyrone Tracy ends up as a top 30 running back by the end of the season.
Top 30 back? Like, on an over, like he's 47 right now?
Yes.
I will take that bet. Absolutely.
All right, and I say Tyrone Tracy is a top 30 running back by the end of the season. Put it on the board.
Put it on the board.
Thank you.
Okay. Very good. We're stealing from all of our
favorite podcasts.
All right. Well, let's get to the last team. Give you a second to get a sound effect.
Oh, yeah, we did the worry meter. You're right. Yeah, sound effect for this was not good for Mr. Hughes. So we gotta find a good sound. I have so many victory sounds. I don't have a lot of. All right, we'll do this one. Price is Right losing sound for Josh this week.
Yeah, that was kind of the week it was. It was starting Tua Tagovailoa against the Ravens. That didn't work out very well. Uh, Tua, despite a nice game last week in Week 8 against the Falcons, shits the bed again here. With he threw 40 times, he only completed 25 of those passes, 0 touchdowns to 1 interception. Not the ratio you're looking for in this matchup here. Kind of an interesting start. I don't know. I feel like, well, he had Jalen Hurts on bye and Brock Purdy hurt, so probably didn't want to drop either of those guys. I don't know if there was a better option than Tua out there. Maybe there was, but a terrible performance. Got nice days out of Josh Jacobs, Puka Nacua, the 2 elite stars for this team right now. But other than that, like, Jawan Jennings got into the end zone. Only 41 yards for the Niners, but does get the score. I mentioned Hurts being on the affected stat line here with the fantasy total for Josh, but Alvin Kamara, boy, could it get much worse?
No.
0.2 fantasy points, 6 carries, lost a fumble. Like, it's dire straits right now. It's a little sad to see. Kamara has been a guy that a lot of us, have had over the years. He's been in the league for a long time at this point, and used to be a very exciting player. Has a nice schedule ahead for what it's worth, but it's hard to trust right now. 6 carries in back-to-back games for Kamara. So again, recapping: 19 for Nacua, 18 for Jacobs, 12 for Jennings, and the rest of it was a little bit terrible. So any of these guys you want to talk about that had a nice week?
Well, I gotta go back to his name is Puka Nacua, because I love Puka Nacua. Yeah, I mean, 49% snap counts, still does his Puka Nacua thing. 7 catches, 95 yards, and a touchdown. They didn't need him, so that's why that snap percentage was so low. I don't think he got hurt in this one. He suffered a rib injury. I don't know
returned,
if he returned. Okay, so I don't think they're really too concerned about that. They'll put him in the Kevlar vest going forward. But again, just kind of seamless coming back from injury and by 19 points. Now wide receiver number 5. He is my beast for week 9 and my beast in my heart.
Beast in your heart. Okay, he did. I think it did take him out of the game for a little while. He did only play 49% of the snaps in this one.
I think that had to do with game script too. Yeah.
Game script, yeah. They were beating the Saints handily for most of this one. Okay, smorgasbord at the bus part of the show here.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about him. Alvin Kamara. It's just like, what the F? I don't want to cuss on here for the children that might be listening, but oh my God, it's just like he has like the premium spot like in an offense that has no playmakers outside of Chris Olave. It's like you have a rookie quarterback now. You should be running the ball. I don't care what the score is. Just run the ball 15 to 20 times with him. He's talented. I think he's still talented, and it's just such a disappointment. Drafted in the 4th round, probably one of the biggest disappointments thus far. In terms of fantasy, I really liked him going into this year. I thought that he was going to be like the focus of this offense because I thought the rookie was going to start at the beginning of the season. They don't really have anybody else, so I was like, well, he's just going to get all the touches in the world, and it just seems like his attempts are going down as the week goes on. I mean, he had 21 in week 2, and then he had 18, 15, 8, 10, 11, and 6 in the last 2 weeks. So I'm surprised he didn't move. That was interesting by the Saints that they didn't want to move him, but he's stuck there now. Favorable schedule, so maybe that's the light at the end of the tunnel, but he is my bust for week 9. He has been extremely disappointing.
Yeah, the thought that we had a few weeks ago with the injury to Kendry Miller, the backup running back there, that maybe Kamara would benefit from that. He would have all the work. It was not the case. He's had his perhaps two of the worst weeks of the season for him, despite Kendry Miller being shelved with his season injury. Rough for sure. if you looked at a line graph,
Wait,
Adam, of Josh,
can I get one answer from you?
yeah.
Is it out of the question to start RJ Harvey over Alvin Kamara now? I know.
Yeah, the thing about Harvey is like he's not rushing the ball.
Yeah, I know.
He's making his money off of 3 games with receiving touchdowns in a row.
And he is ahead of Alvin Kamara though, like 23-30.
I don't know, man. I'm glad I don't have that decision.
Yeah, for sure.
Because how can Kamara be that bad?
I don't know. He's the best player on the team.
The weird thing, like he's never won a Super Bowl, right, Kamara?
No. He won a lot of people a fantasy football championship when he scored 7 touchdowns that one championship week. But
do you find it weird that Kamara supposedly, according to the reporting, like basically vetoed any idea of a trade? That he basically told the Saints if they trade him, he was going to retire.
Damn, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, if he that was the reporting. So, what do you think though that a veteran like that would be itching to get traded to another team? Granted, maybe he does just have this appreciation for New Orleans. He spent his whole career there, but what do you think that a guy has that fire in his belly that wants to get that Super Bowl as a veteran? Don't you think he would be begging to be traded to a contender? Instead, he tells the Saints, like, I think his quote was something like, I'll be, if I get traded, I'll be sitting on a tropical island somewhere. That was his way of saying, hey, I'm going to retire if you trade me. Is that weird? And
it's like if you care about the Saints that much, you're hoping that they do well and get maybe some draft picks out of it. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I guess he's just been there his entire career. He wants to stay there. I don't know.
I just wonder, like, more so, like, with that kind of an attitude, does he just not care anymore? Is that affecting his on-field performance, that he's just kind of like the senior at the end of the high school career where you're just kind of like, senior skip day, not going to do my homework for the last week of school? Like, is he just kind of giving up on this team?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he retires at the end of the season.
Well, I think that's a given at this point.
Yeah.
For sure. All right, well, like Kamara's season, if you drew a line graph of Josh's scoring as a team, it would show a very prominent peak in weeks 3 and 4, followed by both precipitous and steady declines in the recent weeks since week 4, all the way down to the season low of 75.84 points in week 9. Josh Jacobs and Puka Nacua are better than ever, but reliable workhorse role players like Kamara, Jake Ferguson, Xavier Worthy, Jacoby Myers are all seeing kind of changing situations, in some cases decreasing workloads. The Chum Buckets seem to be the epitome of a bubble team right now. So which side of the playoff line do you think, Adam, at this point, Josh will fall on when all is said and done?
I think he gets in. Now, that's because of Hurts. I think Hurts coming back, that really helps, not hurts. I think that I think Jake Ferguson's going to be fine. I just think he's shown too much early in the season. I think it was just a weird matchup in Week 9. Again, they have the Raiders, Philadelphia, Kansas City, Detroit. These are all games where they're going to need to throw the ball a ton. He's going to be heavily involved. I think the biggest question mark, I don't even think Kamara's a question mark because I think he is what he is right now. And I think it's Xavier Worthy. It's like they need to get him involved there in Kansas City. And if they can get him involved as that number 2 option in that offense, then I think Josh will be fine. But, just too much talent. Hurts, Jacobs, and Nacua, those 3 could win you a week any of these weeks. Hurts gets 2 rushing touchdowns. Puka catches 15 balls and goes for 200 yards. That can happen. So I'm not down on him yet. I think that it's starting to get dire, but I think that he will squeak through and get in.
I could go both ways on this, Adam, but I'm going to say he does not. And the reason being, he's the only team currently in the playoff picture in the top 7 that does not have 1,000 points on the season yet. He's at 991. And there are 3 teams that are not in the playoff picture that do have 1,000 points. So I think maybe his place in the standings is not quite as well deserved as maybe you might think it is. I think maybe some of these other teams that have more points than him, again, not by much, but Scott's team, well, but now that I'm looking at some of these teams also, their
Yeah.
records are 3-6. So, it could be the case that, hey, his 5-4 record is going to be enough to get him to keep him in there. But if he loses a couple more, next week is interesting. I play Josh next week.
And I would also say with Brock Purdy coming back, Juwan Jennings' value goes way up with him playing other than Mac Jones.
Yeah, but maybe Pearsall comes back as well, and Kittle gets maybe into full speed. I don't know. I think it's a wash.
I think it goes up a little bit. They had a great connection last year as a Jennings owner.
Okay, well, that's a tidbit. We'll see what happens. If it happens, the Niners can never stay healthy. So
I said Josh will make the playoffs. You said Josh wouldn't make the playoffs.
No.
Put it on the board.
I'm not going to get that far. I'm not.
All right, fair
Once
enough.
I looked at the records, Alex has more points, but he's 3-6. Jake has more points, and he's 3-6. So lots of ground to make up for those guys. And I'm not going to talk about my team in that situation.
The fantasy karma, yes, sir.
It may be a little bit. No, seriously though, next week we're going to talk about you're going to pull the matchups up while I go through the bye weeks here. But Josh and I, it's going to be a battle. It's going to be an important bubble battle for these 2 teams. But bye week: Cincinnati Bengals, Kansas City Chiefs, Dallas Cowboys, 3 very high-powered offenses. Tennessee Titans. It's like that meme with the dragons, right? You have the kind of the couple seriously dangerous dragons, and then
the dopey one.
Yeah, that's the Titans right now. But as far as bye weeks go, Sarah's team is going to be perhaps hurting the most. Patrick Mahomes, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, 3 very important key players for her are going to be on bye. Same with husband Josh, who we just talked about, Xavier Worthy, Kansas City defense, and Jake Ferguson, 3 players that are typically in the lineup, are going to be missing. We'll be missing some Titans, Tajay Spears, Alec Iomanner, and running back Chase Brown, newly acquired. Right? No, sorry. Chase Brown is not
Charlie.
Tom. It's Charlie. Okay, got to move him to Charlie's side. Charlie will be without Chase Brown and Travis Kelce this week. Scott will be without Jamar Chase and Kareem Hunt. I will be without T. Higgins and Tony Pollard. Adam, you will be missing your quarterback, Dak Prescott. And Calvin Ridley, even though he's still hurt anyway. Dustin will be missing Rashee Rice, Mike, Javonte Williams, Jake, Chimeri DK. I think he might be able to survive without Chimeri DK. So, Adam, let's take a look at the matchups for Week 10.
Sure. So I'm going to do this a little different. I'm going to go through them, but then I'm going to pick my matchup or the most interesting matchup of the week in terms of seedings and playoff implications. But Union Bridge Badgers at 5-4 go against the Finksburg Kings at 2-7. The Owings Mills Ozempic 3-6 go against the Columbia Clown College at 4-5. The Pratt Street Po Boys at 4-5 go against the Curtis Bay Chump Buckets at 5-4. The Westminster Wrecking Crew at 4-5 go against the Berlin Banshees at 7-2. The Reisterstown Rockets at 6-3 go against the Penn Prairie Wolves at 3-6. And my matchup of the week is the Pasadena Pulverizers at 6-3 versus the Timonium Neon Tubes at 5-4. If Brian does lose this one, he could be seeing his playoff hopes start to dim a little bit, being at 5-5. And Sarah needs a win to try to get back into that first seed against Dustin. So that is my matchup of the week.
Well, that's it for this week's episode. I think it was a long one, Adam. How do we do on time?
Yeah, it was long.
Yeah, okay.
Great for me.
Well, anyway. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening. If you made it to the end, congratulations. If you got a win in Week 9, congratulations. If you're Josh playing me in Week 10, take a week off. Bench some of your players or something.
Fair enough.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Good luck, everybody.
Thank you for listening and your support. If you enjoyed the show, please make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and Spotify.